Joe, the Bossman Show. We're here with a guy who's right up the road from us here in downtown Atlanta, Kennesaw State University head coach Amir Abdur-Rahim. Coach Amir, how are things going with you here in August, man?
Man, things are good, man. It's been a great summer. You know, guys worked hard, man. Just really getting after it, man. So I can't complain at the summer at all, man. Just really excited to get back in, in a couple of weeks and start school and start this journey.
Well, Coach, I'm going to tell you a quick story that may date you and I both.
Okay.
When I was at TSU back in 05 to 09, I knew you was at Murray State, so I knew about you from then. You was at Murray State. So before we get started, what are your thoughts about Murray State as a school and the OVC league and how it's grown over the years? Because I feel like OVC basketball down is growing like crazy right now. And how was it when you came down and played TSU at Gentry when you was at Murray State there?
Well, man, the thing that's cool about Murray State, man, is, any place you go, and it's one of the things that we're trying to, do here at Kennesaw is create a tradition and, create some history, at a Division I level. I mentioned to you before we jumped on, just what Coach Engel has been able to do at the D2 and NAIA level. We want to kind of, duplicate that at Division I level, so with him, so with that being said, Murray is a special place just because it's literally the best environment and best tradition in the OVC. Now actually, having Belmont gave them a little bit of competition. So Murray was really cool to work at. I say that all the time, and this ain't a shot at it, but man, it's a great place. Especially 30 nights or 15 to 16 nights a year when you got those home games, man, because those people they pack it out. TSU, I tell you this, was always great to go play at because it seemed like they brought us in there on Greek night, So
every time Greek night. You're right. Every night it was Greek night.
Yeah, no doubt. So man, my wife ain't around me right now. So at the time, for a young single guy, it was great, because it was awesome, because you're living in Murray, Kentucky, and you didn't really get to see a whole lot. But nonetheless, it was great. The only thing that was hard about it was, man, they put you right down there by the band, and every time out, man, we literally would have to move our bench or our huddle to almost center court so the guys could hear us, talk about the game plan and what we wanted to do. So, man, other than that, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, I remember how the band would just be so loud, and it was like a football game inside of a gym almost without a band hitting it.
No doubt. Every single time, man, it was crazy. Every single time. So, it was awesome, man. It really was. It was a fun league to be a part of, and that's the thing that I think that's really cool about the A-Sun is, the A-Sun can be the same way. With what's been built, with Lipscomb and Liberty and, Florida Gulf Coast, even North Florida, I think Coach Driscoll's done an unbelievable job. The thing we got to do now is, we got to jump in that mix with Kennesaw, and it can be done, especially with having Atlanta as a fertile recruiting base and really the state of Georgia in general. There are enough kids out there where we could build this thing, with homegrown kids and, really make some noise kind of, in a sense, kind of put our staple on the A-Sun.
And Coach Amir, the thing about with you is this, like, you've been an assistant coach in different places around college basketball. You've been in SEC at Georgia, Texas A&M, and I feel like Kennesaw is right in your wheelhouse because you have those pipeline in Georgia already by being on Tom Crean's staff. So the guys that may not really be the level of Georgia, maybe the level of Kennesaw State, or they may go to Georgia or Georgia Tech, or be like it don't work out, can transfer to you guys, kind of like what Ron Hunter did at Georgia State, and you be like that one more time experience for the guys, and that one more chance to say, hey, you can still do this at this level, do it here at Kennesaw right in your own backyard.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, it's a blueprint to it all, and the transfer route is always definitely a possibility. I think the part that's great for us, and this is really what we tried to do at Georgia was, we wanted, and we're going to take the same blueprint at Kennesaw from a standpoint of, building relationships with kids when they're young. I'm not really concerned about, a kid, outgrowing our level. What we're going to try to do is put a premium on the relationship. And build really strong relationships with these kids and make sure that they understand that, Kennesaw is a viable option, even with Georgia and Georgia Tech. I'm not, I don't want to be, I don't want to seem, arrogant or cocky or anything like that, but I don't want to, shy away from the recruiting battles and just the battles in general that we need to be in if we're going to turn this thing the way it's it can be turned.
Well, Coach, I'm gonna do a recruiting pitch for you. Georgia Tech and Georgia are in tough conferences, but Georgia State, Mercer, and Kennesaw State isn't. Per se, you all can have opportunity to win and go dancing. Where Georgia Tech and Georgia, while they're in a bigger league per se, they might not make it to the big dance for real, based on the competition in their leagues.
Yeah, no question. I mean, and that's the thing. I think, people look at mid-major basketball sometimes like it's an issue, like, well, it's not the highest level. Well, the ultimate goal, I think, of everybody, right, is to play in the NCAA tournament.
Got
so
that right.
if we're in a league, regardless if it's a one big league or we're able to get two teams in or whatever it may be, as long as we can be in that conversation and to build a program, you got to be in that conversation year in, year out. That's our goal. We don't want to be, a one-hit wonder. We don't want to just do it once. We don't want to do it just twice. We want to be in that conversation every year. So whether it's, the NCAA tournament, whether it's the NIT, we need to be, we got to build this thing the right way into, where we can get to a point where every year we're in that conversation of postseason play. But again, we can't skip steps either. I think that's the biggest thing. I think being at the places that I've worked at over my career, I can remember when we got to Murray State, we had to we brought in 11 new players our first year to a program that was used to, in a sense, that was used to winning. I mean, you walk in Murray, in the arena at Murray State, and I mean, it's just banners everywhere. So it took us some time, and people, some people, were restless. Some people actually, gave us a chance, and, in year 4, really year three it started, but year 4, we kind of really broke through in a big way, going 31-5, winning the regular season, winning the tournament, and then beating Vandy in the first round of the tournament. And what a lot of people don't realize is we were a shot away from beating Butler the first time they went to the Final Four. So to me, it doesn't matter the level as much as it's getting the right type of kids, building the program the right way, having an identity, and then, really just going from there.
And, Coach, also, Kennesaw State, however, is a great academic programs as well, and a great part of Atlanta. And I feel like, Coach, you can get high school freshmen, you can get JUCO guys, grad transfers, transfer guys, and international guys, because Kennesaw offers so many different things educationally as well for kids, young men to grow from. So it's a great part of town. They're building up out there around Chastain Road, Wade Green Road. They're building it all out there, make it real nice. So guess what? You're in a area of your own to have it to yourself out there, because once you get past Kennesaw, ain't much else out there, so you got out there to yourself pretty much.
No doubt, man. And that's actually been one of our selling points, and it's not a negative or a knock on anybody else, but I think personally, and I could be wrong, everybody doesn't look at it like this, but I think when kids are deciding to go to school, you want to try to give them the best experience they can have. And what I mean by that is you try to give them a college feel, a campus feel, but coming from a guy who went to junior college in Garden City, Kansas, played at Southeastern Louisiana, lived in Murray, Kentucky, the thing about small towns sometimes is, you don't get, it's hard to get certain places, so
exactly.
At Kennesaw, to be able to have a campus feel, and then at the same time, you're 30 minutes from downtown Atlanta, no traffic. There's no traffic, or
which never happens.
Or even to be able to have two malls within 20-25 minutes with Town Center Mall and Cumberland Mall, and especially the way they're building up that Braves area, the Battery area. I mean, you kind of get the best of both worlds. So our thing is, man, put a premium on relationship, get people to campus. And if I could tell you how many times I heard kids say this summer when we would get them to campus, I mean, we probably had anywhere from 25 to 30 kids on campus in June, between the 20, 21, and 20 and 21 classes. And, man, all of them would say the same thing, like, dang, Coach, I didn't know y'all had all this up here. And it's like, well, was this your first time on campus? Yeah, this is my first time up here. So again, and that's not a knock on the last staff. I'm not here for that. Those guys, they did what they were, they did the job they were hired to do, but to be able to get kids to campus and for them to be able to see what you have to offer is half the battle. Now, when you put a premium on those relationships, now, it turns into something different.
And speaking of relationships, Coach, how has that been building relationships with the guys on the roster that you decided to keep? So how has that been with the workout this summer, getting those 4 hours to work with those guys, kind of implement what you want to implement for your culture and what on-court workouts, how that go for you this summer for you, Coach?
It went well, I thought. We're not where we want to be by any means. I think the thing that we were trying to do this summer more than anything was we were trying to establish our standards and create our culture. It's like I told these guys, I have 2 expectations of them this year. One is, every time we step between the lines is to play hard and compete. And the second one is just to have a high level of attention to detail. Those are my 2 expectations for them. Because if we can do those things on a daily basis, man, we'll be where we should be, in each game. I really, really believe that. I'm not worried. I'm not so much worried about, people say, well, when you get your guys in there or the talent level gets better, nah, man, you don't get to choose that. You got to take the guys you got. And they're my guys. They're my
Exactly.
guys. I inherited them. They're mine, or ours, I should say. And so my job is, if I'm a coach, if I'm really a coach, it's just like a teacher, right? Like I said in my press conference, I feel like I'm an educator more than anything. So the teacher doesn't get to pick the students that he or she teaches. They got to teach the students that they get and then bring the most out of them. So that's the approach we took. Those were the expectations, and I thought in a lot of strides in those areas. We got some guys bought in, and we got to continue to get buy-in when we get back in school. Sometimes 2 months isn't enough. So again, the expectations I think are understood. We're setting the standards daily, every single day. And then, obviously the culture, that's literally a second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day thing that you're fighting for every single day is that culture.
Now, Coach Amir, non-conference scheduling-wise, I know you got to play some bye games, but beyond those bye games you have to play, how you see yourself making the schedule out once you have full control of it come next season?
Well, we're still going to try to get out there and go compete against, maybe 3 or 4 of those, what I call, the big guys. We're going to try to still do that. And because for us, Bossman, to be honest with you, it's not about us, meaning men's basketball. I want to be a part of something where everybody is getting better from what's going on at Kennesaw. It's no different than what Coach Bohannon has created up there. I mean, the buzz around there, it's really cool to see what football is doing, and they're back in camp and how excited people are. I see people day in, day out coming in and out of the athletic department picking up their season tickets. We got to create that same thing with basketball, because then I think it leads to even more for women's basketball or volleyball or baseball, so on and so forth. So from that standpoint, man, our thing is to get out there and play the best, but we're always preparing for March. We're always preparing for being in the tournament, because again, if you can go play 3 or 4 of those games, it'll depending on how your team is, what your goals are, it kind of really sets the bar for where you are, or it's telling you where you have to get to. Because the thing is, those tournament games in March, those games are won by the most consistent teams, the most disciplined teams. And so for us, we want to be up tempo, we want to play fast, but at the same time, we want to guard you and take great shots in everything that we do.
And, Coach, I want to get this from you, Coach Amir. Who have been some coaches and people in the business that really helped you along the way as you've got to this point to be the head coach of Kennesaw State now?
Well, I'm a thief. I steal from everybody, man. It's the only time I'll admit to being a thief, man. I steal from everybody. I mean, I literally I watch probably more, to be honest with you, I probably watch more women's basketball than I watch men's basketball sometimes, just because I think that the execution and the technique in the women's game is a lot better because they're actually having to depend on execution and not athleticism, right? So, I'll watch, the Joni Taylors of the world. I'll watch the Gary Blairs of the world, having been at A&M, and then, whether it's Muscle McGraw at Notre Dame, those are just different people I watch. But the guys I think who have had a big-time impact on me, obviously Billy Kennedy, who I played for in college, and he gave me my start in the business at Murray State, and then I ended up working for him at Texas A&M. His philosophy defensively and how he wants to be defensively day in and day out. It's almost, I say it's vanilla, right? But there's nothing wrong with vanilla ice cream. It actually goes really good with pretty much any dessert you get, right? So,
yes, indeed.
That part of it is great. So it'll be hard nosed, it'll be tough, things like that. But then even just in 1 year, I know this may sound crazy, but even just in 1 year of working for Tom Crean at Georgia, man, the impact that he's had on my mindset as a leader, my mindset as a coach, my mindset as a educator in a sense, I don't even know if I could put it into words, just because when you watch him, and we're talking about a guy who's been to the Final Four, who's coached, multiple pros, probably I think it's like 15 or 16 pros, and he's developed guys, not all McDonald's All-Americans. These are guys, like he loves to tell, Dwayne Wade had, I think it was 3 offers. Oladipo had 2 offers or something like that. So the way he looks at the game, the way he looks at each guy individually and what's important for their development, and then mixing it in with, what's best for the team, had a huge impact on me. So I've been fortunate to work for and work with, some really good coaches. I should have mentioned Chad Dollar, who I've worked with 3 times. People don't realize it at Murray State, at Georgia Tech, and then again at Georgia, just, how he approaches it every day. Joe Scott at Georgia, who was a Princeton guy, like the things that he thinks about. So just being able to pick the brains of different people. Steve Prohm at Iowa State, Shaka Smart at Texas, like just guys that let you text them and say, Coach, man, why do you do this or why do you do that? And then bang, like they respond, which a lot of people don't do. So I've been really fortunate and really blessed to, be able to connect with some really great coaches, but probably even better people.
And Coach, I know you like to watch the women's games. I feel like we should put some rules in the women's game into the men's game. Maybe like the quarters, the 5-team fouls, and maybe the NBA thing, they advance the ball, the game make it a little more exciting. Because I feel like if you get the ball from the baseline, you got to throw up a heave. You have a chance to drop a play. If you get the advance to the half court and really draw a real play, not just just double pick. Sit around on the screen, throw up a heave, hope it go in. Give you a chance to win the game at the end.
No doubt. No doubt. Like, I don't know how I feel about the quarters. I like halves. I don't know why. I feel like quarters are a little bit high school, right? If we were going to go quarters, then let's go 12-minute quarters. But the advancement of the ball, I think is great. Like, I think the women, hit it right on the head, with it being able to advance the ball, because now execution comes into it, game planning comes into it, having to be on top of your game, it comes into it. I can remember being at Texas A&M. I think it was maybe my first or second year, and it was Billy Donovan's last year at Florida. And man, you get your 5 timeouts or whatever it is, man. This dude used 4 timeouts in the first half. Just whether it was getting the ball to half court, advancing it, and like he coached the rest of the game with 1 timeout. And I want to say they beat us that game. I could be wrong. Maybe we pulled it out at the end, but I just remember sitting there thinking, like, why is he using all of his timeouts in the first half? And, somebody asked the question after the game of, hey, Coach, you realize you used all these timeouts? And he was just like, hey, look, I'm trying to win the game. So I'm in that moment. I can't worry about what may happen. I know we had an opportunity in that moment. So, being able to, that advancement of the ball is really cool. And I wish they would, put it in our game.
Now, that's what I got for you, Coach, is this. What's it been like for you, a typical day for you? I know you got a lot of meetings, a lot of meeting with players and boosters, administrators, people just want to come talk to you. How's a typical day been for you since you got this job at Kennesaw?
A typical day?
Yes.
I don't even know if it's such thing as a typical day anymore. I was literally just telling my wife about a week or so ago. I'm like, man, you'll get up with a plan in mind of how you're going to attack the day. And literally, it might be the first thing, like something happens first thing in the morning. It just throws your whole day off because you're dealing with that. And that's part of being the head coach. It's part of sitting in this chair. But the typical day is not a typical day. It's like you're kind of adjusting. That's the typical day. You're learning to adjust. And to me, that's where I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable adjusting. That's basketball, right? Like that is the game. It's being in the game, 40 minutes, adjusting to the things that people throw at you. So when, I look at these days like they're helping me not only, kind of as a coach, but they're helping me as a leader too. Just adjust to the things that come at you. It's like the old, cliche of, life isn't about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. So a typical day is just responding, over the last 2 or 3 months.
Well, Coach Amir, it's been great to have you on the show, man. I've been wanting to get you on for a while, man. I've had on Coach Lanier and Coach Gary as well down at Mercer. So I just want to make you part of the group as well. Get you on, let's all say some love here on the Bossman Show, man.
No, Bossman, I appreciate it. I mean, I tell you this, Georgia basketball, like across the state, I think we, are fortunate to be with a lot of great high school coaches, a lot of great AAU coaches, but then you look at the college coaches that are in this state from, like you said, Coach Gary, Coach Lanier, Coach, don't forget about my man, Coach Byington down there at Georgia Southern. You throw in Coach Passner, Coach Crean, even Coach Mitch Cole up at Berry College. Like, there are some really, really good coaches in this state, and I personally feel fortunate, to be able to pick up the phone and call one of those guys and say, Coach, man, even though you're competing against them, just say, hey, man, what are you guys doing with this and thinking about that? I sat with Coach Lanier in Myrtle Beach the last session of the summer, man, and he and I sat together for like 3 games, man, just talking basketball, talking strategy, talking life, talking coaching, talking family. So that part of it is really cool.
I'm glad to have all of you in the state, man. I look forward to covering your game this year, and I look forward to you doing big things because Casey Alexander's gone from Lipscomb now, Coach. The ASA is for yours to take. Casey gone to play on mine.
No, that's the plan. But like I said, man, we go take it a day at a time and build it the right way so we can sustain it, man. We don't want to be no shot in the dark, man. We want to have a real program.
Yes, Coach Amir, it's been great, man. Talk to you real soon, brother. Best luck to you.
All right. Boss man, thank you.
You're welcome. Folks, it's Amir Abdur-Rahim here on the Bossman Show.
My heart skips skipping the beat. You're not close enough, so that space between you and me, let's lose it. The way you're dancing, swaying to the music. Girl, that body and how you move it. Every time you cross my mind, girl, I lose it.
Alexa, play the Country Heat playlist. Okay.
I don't think you know what you're doing to me. You got
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
It's maybe the night that my dreams might let me know. All the stars are closer. All the stars are closer.
Tell me what you gonna do to me. Confrontation ain't nothing new to me. You could bring a bullet, bring a sword, bring a morgue, but you can't bring the truth to me.
Alexa, play Kendrick Lamar and SZA.
Okay.
Maybe the night that my dreams might let me know. All the stars are closer.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
till the tears run down from my eyes. Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me? Somebody to love.
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay.
Somebody to love. Somebody.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
I was back here enjoying the Bossman Show. We're with Coach Zach Claus here of the Idaho Vandals out of the Big Sky Conference. Coach, how are things going out there in Idaho, man?
Doing terrific. Thank you for having me.
Coach, I know it's been a whirlwind for you getting the job in July, man. What has it been like this whirlwind from now, and we're here in August as we get ready for the fall camp to open up in October, man. What's it been like for you to get the chance to lead this squad so far?
Well, it's obviously been a big change, but one that I embraced and am really looking forward to. Have made, comments in the past that the players, they were here during all of it, and whether it was our returning guys or all of our incoming guys, the combination of the two meshing so well together, they've made it. Obviously, what has been a challenge has made it all terrific on my end. They've been really receptive. They've been supportive of one another. They've worked their tails off. They did a really, really good job in the classroom with their summer classes. And now, the majority of them are home, spending some much needed time with their family, a little bit of downtime away from here. Because obviously when we bring everybody back at the end of the month for the start of school and we get going with workouts, and before you know it, practice is on top of you. So it's always important to get everybody home, give them a chance to hug their mothers, get some home cooked meals. But it's been a whole lot of fun, and we're looking forward to a great season.
And Coach, the adversity of how things went down, you get the job later, I feel like it's going to make you guys so much closer. Because when you have some adversity, it shows what kind of character you have, the kind of integrity you have, and what you have inside of you. I feel like this experience is going to make your guys a little bit more rugged, a little more tougher than most teams are early in the year because of what you've been through already, which has been kind of a weird circumstance, but it's good for you, but also but it's good for them as well that you all come together, went through it all at the same time, and have the same goal in mind. We got through this. We can win this game because we went through this in July and August. Look where we're at now.
You definitely are onto something there, because I know that our returning guys welcomed the incoming guys with open arms, because we needed to add some depth and talent to this roster. And the new guys have been very open-minded, and a big thanks to our incoming guys, because they took a chance on our staff to remain here. I mean, they could have easily said, with everything that was going on with the indecision, they could have pulled the plug and said, you know what, it's in my best interest to look into another program or do something else with my next step for college basketball. But they chose to honor their commitment by coming to the University of Idaho. They saw enough positive with their, incoming and existing teammates, with our staff, and I make mention of it on a regular basis. We're very fortunate in that the people that have their hands on our players on a daily basis, from Jake Scharnhorst, who's our strength coach, to Krista Gray in academics, to Joe St. Pierre, who handles all of our media, and then all the way to Justin Pomar, who's our athletic trainer. Those people that have, an immediate impact on our guys each and every day just make everything run smooth. And we're very fortunate that way. We've got some terrific people in this department, again, on our staff that have made it possible for the kids. But again, I think you're onto something, that these guys are rallying around one another and have definitely supported one another over the past month and a half.
And Coach, what did it mean to you for the administration to give you the opportunity to lead this team? Because I'll tell you what, for them to tab you as an interim coach, I mean, that must have meant a lot to you, because you've paid your dues in this business, from being a basketball ops guy to becoming an assistant coach on the bench. So you've paid your dues. So for them to look at you and say, hey, Coach Zach, we trust you to lead this program this year to get these young men where we want to be in the Big Sky Conference.
Well, I certainly take it as a compliment that they entrusted that to me, but at the same time, again, I work with a terrific staff, and, I know that our sole focus is to make sure that we have a terrific season ahead, that we pour all of our energy into making this the most positive experience for these kids in this program for the upcoming season, and then we go from there.
And Coach, for the workouts, were you implementing some scheme-wise? You were just trying to see what you had for the guys, or trying to get them some shots up, get them some drill work done, get them some conditioning done? Were you trying to actually put in some schemes for doing the 4 hours you guys had to work out each week?
The biggest thing, and I've always kind of thought this, is that the summer is a basketball player's best opportunity to improve from an individual standpoint. And so once we, really were hands-on and on the floor and getting after it with daily workouts, it was more so about getting back to fundamental stuff, whether it be footwork, passing, ball handling, and obviously a whole bunch of shooting, making sure our guys were getting plenty of reps because, from the summer you're limited in terms of the time that you have with them. And I go back to, our strength coach. He has such a he does such a good job with our guys and has such a persona about him and just puts off such a level of toughness and confidence that I didn't want to take anything away from the amount of time that we spend in the weight room as a whole, because again, this is a group that needed to get bigger and stronger and quicker and more agile in the weight room. So it was a combination of a great deal of individual workouts on the court, and then getting into the weight room and, spending that extra time in there to improve individually. And, once we get them back here in the fall, once school gets started, we'll do more in groups, and then we'll start doing more team stuff as practice approaches. And I know we have a long season, and I know that we're fortunate to have an older group that I know will be able to pick up on stuff quickly. So again, the summer was more geared toward them individually.
And, Coach, speaking of your team's play this year, when teams watch Idaho Vandals play, what do you want them to take from watching your team play every night as you compete this season?
Well, I'd say right off the top, guys that play hard, that compete, from the opening tip to the final buzzer, and no matter what the score is. And we play the game the right way. We're moving the ball, we're sharing the ball. We're complimenting one another. We're picking up one another when we dive after a loose ball, but we're also respectful of our opponent. We play the right way, and that this team's going to compete each and every time they're out for a game.
Yes, indeed, Coach. And instead of having an older group at the mid-major level, Coach, having an older group is dangerous because those guys know how to play. Some of these, how many schools, all these young kids are still developing, don't know how to play the right way. And guess what? You go and get some in the non-conference schedule or catch them in March. A team like yours, a little older, they can beat those teams. They're not used to those pressure-packed moments that your team maybe y'all are used to because they're a little bit older.
I agree with you. I think, we've got a bunch of guys that are hungry to play at this level that, again, like we talked about previously, that are rallying around one another and, through not only, the little bit of adversity this summer, but, coming off of a year where, admittedly we struggled and, struggled a little bit in terms of, just guys not quite being ready to play at this level. I don't anticipate that being the same this upcoming year. We have guys that have been through it. We have guys that have played at a high level, whether they've come from, junior college or a 4-year transfer. Doesn't matter. They're going to be ready to hit the ground running and compete each and every time out.
And it's about the big sky. We know Montana's been on top of the league with Coach DeCure, and those guys have been playing great for years. Mm-hmm. Shante Leggins up there at Eastern Washington. Randy Ray always does good at Weber State as well. Barrett's getting better at Portland State. You also got a game Sprinkle right there in your backyard there, getting the gig down there. His alma mater. So he coaches the league. Got a lot of great guys in the league, man. I know everybody's going in for Montana, so as you all prepare for this year, do you kind of try to look at your league and say, we got to beat the guys from our league, kind of prepare our roster, make our rotations, make our schemes, kind of beat the guys from our league? Because even in our conference schedule-wise as well, it's kind of always with that idea of kind of getting the big sky and we didn't get that automatic bid when you get that big dance in March there.
No question. And, I was fortunate enough to play in the Big Sky, so between playing in it and then coaching at multiple places in this conference, it's one that's been near and dear to my heart for many, many years. And the level of play has always been very high and always starts and finishes with a very high level of guard play in this conference. And I know that will continue to be. And you rattled off some very talented coaches that do a terrific job of leading their program. And, it always starts with Weber State and Montana that, you're always kind of gauging your team on how those two hold up. And, they've both been wonderful representatives of our conference with, winning conference titles in the last few years and going on to play in the NCAA tournament. And, that you better be ready, every Thursday and Saturday and, a few Mondays sprinkled in with the way the schedule is. But it's a very talented and balanced top-to-bottom conference. And, we know that non-conference is always important and, a chance to get yourself going, but we know that we've got to be playing our best basketball as we get into January and February, and obviously then into mid-March when we have our conference tournament. But it's a great league, and we're fortunate to be a part of it.
Yeah, the Big Scouts, as a kid, man, I used to watch the games. Like I said, I'm a basketball junkie. I used to watch on ESPN, all those college stations, and watch it with LA and watch the games out west there. So, yeah, Coach, I remember you played in the Big Sky. I remember that. So, like I said, I remember his name when he played in the league. So, my dad got me into sports. So, I think my dad, from my basketball acumen about all the sporting college teams I know about, man, it was so great. But I want to ask you, Coach, in your career, man, playing and coaching, who have been some people who have been really key to you in your success as you are the head coach of Idaho right now?
Well, from a coaching standpoint, I was very fortunate. I spent 10 years coaching at the University of Nevada, and I was brought on when Mark Fox, who's now the head coach at Cal, when he was there, and then after he left to go to Georgia, I stayed there and worked for David Carter. And I've known Coach Carter since 1996 when I transferred out to play at Eastern Washington, and he was an assistant there. And, to work with and for those two guys was fantastic, and learned a great deal from them, and to have both of them as mentors has been tremendous for me as I've continued on coaching since my time at Nevada. And then I would, you asking me that question, it spits me out to, my biggest coaching mentor, who I'm fortunate enough I talked to literally about 30 minutes ago, and his name is Jeff Smith. He actually is still teaching at Lincoln Southeast High School, where I'm from, and actually both of us attended, and he is the reason why I initially went out to Eastern Washington. He years ago, and that's going back to when the NCAA still had their restricted earnings coach, and he was that coach at Nebraska, and went with Steve Aggers, who was my head coach at Eastern Washington, and he got the job out there and said, "What do you think? You want to take a chance and go with me?" And I got to tell you, it was maybe the best decision I've ever made, because it gave me the chance to play for him for a couple of years and spend more time with him. And I met my future bride, Tony, at Eastern Washington, because she played volleyball there. And so it was a win-win for me, and he, to this day, remains my biggest mentor that I have.
Coach, it's mighty funny you say that. I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and we talked about how we met, which is kind of weird how we met, how we came about. So to hear you say that, basically, I had a conversation with my girlfriend about how we met. If I got on the show with you right now. So you say you went to this white met your bride, how I met my girlfriend at Atlanta Hawks game of all places. It's kind of things.
Oh, there you go. I like it.
So, man, it's fairly, we had same conversations pretty much as like an hour ago. But, yeah, Coach, I'm so happy for you to get this job, man. I love college basketball. I love talking to coaches around the country. I love to give y'all a platform, talk to the kids here in Georgia and outside of Georgia as well, where I affiliates, because I feel like mid-major basketball is not covered the way it should be. And if I have a platform, I'm definitely going to give you guys some airtime and cover you guys the best way I possibly can.
Well, that's terrific. I appreciate that, and was definitely happy to join you.
Yes, Nick, Coach Zach, have a great time out there and leading those Vandals, man. We'll talk to you real soon, buddy.
Okay. Thank you again for having me. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Go Vandals.
Yes, indeed. Folks, that's Coach Zach Claus here on the Bossman Show.
My heart skipping the beat. You're not close enough, so that space between you and me, let's lose it. The way you're dancing, swaying to the music, girl, that body and how you move it. Every time you cross my mind, girl, I lose it.
Alexa, play the Country Heat playlist. Okay.
I don't think you know what you're doing to me. You got
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
It's maybe the night that my dreams might let me know. All the stars are closer. All the stars are closer.
Tell me what you gonna do to me. Confrontation ain't nothing new to me. You could bring a bullet, bring a sword, bring a morgue, but you can't bring the truth to me.
Alexa, play Kendrick Lamar and SZA.
Okay.
Maybe the night that my dreams might let me know. All the stars are closer.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
till the tears run down from my eyes, Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love?
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay.
Somebody to love. Somebody.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
All right, folks, back here on the Bossman Show. We're here with the Athletic Detroit's own James Edwards III. James, man, what's good up in the D, man?
Nothing much, man. First of all, appreciate you having me on. But yeah, we were talking before we went live. It's hot. It's hot everywhere. It's hot up here in Michigan, but I'll take that over cold any day of the week. So,
bro,
making sure I properly dressed.
Bro, I have to ask you this. Being a Michigan guy, when does it really get cold up there, man? You know, I really don't know because I'm down here in the ATL, but when does it kind of get cold and you got to worry about snow and sleet stuff that I'm scared of?
Yeah. I mean, it gets a little cold around Halloween. It starts getting, like, cold that everybody talks about probably around Thanksgiving.
Oh, so when the Lions on TV embarrassed everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's why they play indoors. There's a reason.
Yeah, I got you, man. Yeah, man, bro. You probably remember the snowstorm in Atlanta 2013, bro. I didn't come out of the house for 6 days, bro. That's how bad it was. I can't drive in snow. I tried one time, bro. I learned fast. It's not for me. Stay in the house.
I heard wasn't there only an inch on the ground that year?
Man, it was 2 actually. Two inches of snow and some ice.
They don't even think about closing school around here until 4 or 5 inches. So I understand when you're not used to it, that's different. And when you throw in the ice, it's a different story. But, yeah, no, 2 is – we got to go on about our day with 2.
You got that right. Hey, man, it's all good, though. Well, bro, let me ask you this, man. You know, the Pistons, in my opinion, have had a great offseason so far, brother. So how would you grade what the job the Pistons front office did this year with bringing in Derrick Rose, Snell, Markieff Morris, the draft pick as well, and, you know, making those periphery moves they've made so far?
Yeah, I give it a solid B, a high B. I think they did what they set out to do. They needed more creation, more playmaking. They got that in Derrick Rose. They're hoping to get more shooting. Tony Snell, they traded for him. Who can help and fill that void, to get a small forward. Also, they needed like a true small forward on their roster that had some NBA experience, so that checks that box. And then Markieff Morris, if he can get back healthy, that's another guy that, I mean, at minimum, he's a solid bench player, and at his best, he's a low-end starter. So for the little amount of money they had going into the offseason, they got 3 really solid pieces that will play significant time for them this coming season. So you can't give that anything less than a B, given the circumstances in which they were working with.
And the move of hiring Dwayne Casey, I thought was firing Stan Van Gundy, who's one of my favorite people in the whole world. I love Stan Van Gundy. I know you probably enjoy covering him as well. But how was it to cover Dwayne Casey, James? And how is he as a coach? And how do you feel he can take his roster further in year 2 now, get his system more implemented now with the Pistons?
No, I enjoy covering Dwayne. It's super cliche. I always call him he's a Southern gentleman. He remembers everybody's name. He's very polite. He's also pretty funny. I don't know if people know that. I don't think I knew that until I covered him. He's a funny dude. He can be a little bit of a smart ass sometimes to people, but he does it in a very polite way. He cracks jokes. No, he's a good guy to cover. Very honest, open with the media. He has conversations after the cameras are off and after the microphones are off. He'll sit and chat with us routinely. So that's all you can ask for as somebody covering the team. And then going into the season, I think he just garnered the guy's respect last year. I think he's a guy that what he did in Toronto commands commands respect, and the guys like him. The guys understand his vision. They believe in his vision. You never really heard last year when they had a bunch of ups and downs last year, and even during those downs, you never really heard anything blamed on the coaches. They all kind of took onus on themselves that coach was putting them in the right situations. They just weren't converting. So you always want to hear that type of stuff from the players when it comes to having a new coach, because as you know, there's been many instances in sports where the new coach kind of gets the blame right away, and that never happened at all.
Yes, indeed. And also looking at the roster, James, I think you're on something with the free agent addition of Rose, Snell, and Markieff Morris. I think that those complimenting guys off the bench or being a low-end starter in a pinch, I think can really help this roster because if you ask me, beyond Philadelphia, Boston, Milwaukee, the East is open because you don't know what Victor Oladipo is being in Indiana. So the Detroit could literally be 4 or 5 in the East if everything goes well for them.
Yeah, I think I wrote about this in a mailbag that's coming out tomorrow. I think realistically the ceiling for them is the 6th seed. Like you said, I think Philly, Milwaukee, Boston, Brooklyn, and that's 4. And every year I look at Indiana and I think, man, if the Pistons at their best are probably a little better than Indiana, but Indiana over the past 2 years has really kind of shown that they're consistent and that they have a stable foundation. So I got to give them their respect and put the Pacers over them, even without Oladipo maybe not ready for the beginning of the year. But after that, yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if somebody told me the Pistons finished with a better record than the Raptors, if they finished with a better record than the Heat, or I wouldn't be surprised if they finished with a better record than the Pacers. I think at best they'll get a 6th seed. But like you said, if everything goes right and Indiana's foundation kind of crumbles in a little bit, I wouldn't be that surprised if they got a 5 seed.
Exactly. And are there any moves they want to make still, or are they done for the most part? Or maybe be a periphery move, maybe for a bench guy, a shooter here or there, or are you hearing they're pretty much good on moves right now?
I get the sense that they're probably going to go into the season with the roster they have right now. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they traded Langston Galloway, who's on an expiring deal. That's one thing this new front office has shown is that they're willing to trade expiring contracts to get assets and not let guys walk. So Langston Galloway is a guy that Coach Casey likes in terms of what he brought on a night-to-night basis defensively. He's undersized for a 2-guard. He's known as a shooter, but he's been streaky since being in Detroit. But I could, with the young guys that they have, there's a lot of young guys on the wing, and they might want to open up some room for them to fight out for a rotation spot, and you could see Galloway go. But I assume if there's going to be any deals, it's not going to be till closer to the deadline. But again, Langston could be one of those guys that could go before.
Well, a guy I got my eye on the roster is Reggie Jackson. Last year of his deal, man, his health is always tricky. So does he have a long-term future in Detroit? Think they may just trade him away and get some assets back, get something back for him? Because, if you ask me, you traded for him, you had to pay him, but he ain't really lived up to what his contract is worth right now, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I think part of that, too, was, like you said, the injuries. He's been injured the last 2 years, lower body injuries. And if you watch Reggie before he got injured, it was explosiveness and his ability to attack the rim in the pick and roll. And when you have 2 lower body injuries, obviously that's going to hurt the best part of his game. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see how that works. A lot of people kind of assume that they're going to trade Reggie because he does have an expiring contract. But if they get to the deadline and they're a couple games over 500 and they're in the thick of the playoff race and Reggie's playing well, why not? Why trade him? Why not just ride out through the season if things are clicking and you let him go in free agency? I'm not sure he's a guy that's going to garner that solid of a package in a trade deal. If you call around and you can get something that you think is a young piece that you think can maybe grow into something, obviously for Reggie, you're not going to get a high-end young player, but maybe like a second-round pick you like or something like that, or future picks. Maybe you do that, but I think it all is going to depend on where the Pistons are around that deadline. Because I just don't think they're going to get much in return for Reggie. And if you're playing well with him, you might as well just keep him and just have him come off your books the next summer.
And I expect, James, it'd be a heavy trade year because of the money. Because you look at next year's free agency class, it's not that good, first of all. Then you have teams with money. The Atlanta Hawks, Charlotte, Cleveland, Toronto. You're not trying to go there and play. So it's kind of like let's just want to check. But so I feel like there'll be a lot of deals being made this year because of how the cap money was spent this offseason as well. So I think there'll be a lot of different things you see moving pieces that we see come February around the deadline there, in my opinion.
No, that's a good point. I agree. Like you said, there's not many. The free agency class isn't strong next summer. Not many teams have abundance of cap space, and the teams that do aren't really free agent destinations. So I agree. I think that's probably a good way to think about how it will go leading up to the deadline.
Now, James, I think you guys have a small window to win with Blake and Dre because Blake has 2 years in a player option. Dre has a year in a player option on definitely his deal. So do you feel like you have to capitalize in the next 2 years with those guys? Is that anchoring on the front court, and hopefully he's been shooting around those guys, and Blake can play a point forward for you as well, and try to take advantage of the weakened Eastern Conference before we don't know how Kevin Durant comes back for the Nets or whatever, and the Sixers may get better if Simmons can ever get a jump shot. So how do you see that window with Dre and Blake still here if the Pistons try to capitalize on having those two talented guys in the front court the next couple of years before their contracts run out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just of the belief that it's very hard for the Pistons to do anything of significant note that would make them Eastern Conference contenders within Blake's window. I just don't see that foreseen trade happen for they really need like a premier wing player, like a Bradley Beal would be great. I just don't see how a deal for a guy like that becomes available in the next 2 or 3 years. They don't. Their best young player right now is Luke Kennard, who's a fine young player and gets kind of overlooked because, I mean, here in Detroit, people are coming around to Luke, but they were upset because the Pistons took him over Donovan Mitchell. And then nationally, people don't really pay attention to the Pistons, so they're not really paying attention to how good Luke has developed. And Luke's been a really good player for them. He was their best player, I thought, during the Bucks series. I mean, Mike Budenholzer, I asked him if he was game planning for Luke after Luke went out and scored 19 in Game 1. He said, yeah, in Game 2, he was much more of a focal point in our game plan. So Luke's a good player, but I don't know if any of these young assets that they have can be flipped into something of substance. And I just think the Pistons, what they got to do is try to build the best team they can around Blake and Andre, who have worked well together. That's not the issue. They just got to find a way to be a little bit more balanced around them, and they're going to have to do that with smart moves, in-house development of the young guys, hitting on draft picks. It's going to be a process, but I just don't see a splash trade happening with this organization just because unless like a couple of these young guys, one or two of them really take massive leaps, which could happen, but I'm just not sure I see it happening within the next 2 years.
And just want to ask you about the Grand Rapids Drive there. They're going to hire Donnie Tyndall as the new head coach there. What's Coach Tyndall meant to the G League team? I know Coach Casey had him up there at the Raptors 905 when he was in Toronto. So have you had a chance to talk to Coach Tyndall much and see what he's all about? We know what happened with him at the NCAA, but he's definitely a decent man. Coach Stackhouse, Vanderbilt swears by him, had him in the 905 with him as well. So what do you know about Coach Donnie Tyndall and what he's going to bring to the Drive this year?
Yeah, I don't really do too much with the Drive, so I'm not like looped in that regard. But Donnie is a guy that I've met on several occasions. He's actually, like you said, he's a nice guy. In my encounters with him, I tried out for the Drive and wrote a story on it, like what it's like to try out for the G League team. And Donnie was the one by my side, like making sure I was still breathing and making sure I was all right and was going to make it and had some water. And yeah, no, Donnie's around the Pistons a lot. He's a guy that, from all accounts, knows the game, can get respect from players. It's going to be an interesting transition, but it seems like that guy is well respected in the NBA circles.
I think he'll be a head coach in the NBA. I think he's young enough. He's only 49 years old. I think he can be a head coach. Coach Casey's in his 60s, so I think Donnie, if he stays on the right path, man, you hear it here first. He may be here, be NBA head coach here down the road here real soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I got to see how he does with the Drive, but I know they liked him as an assistant with Coach Kruger last year. So now it's just waiting it out and see what he does with the organization.
Last one I got, I talked about this was off the air with you, James, about John Mason, man. I tell you what, I listened to some of those old Pistons intros in 2004 and 2005, man. Mason was on fire, man. I watched him on the league pass. I still hear him do the Detroit basketball. I'm like, my man be getting it, how he come with those names, man, the lineups, man. So for you, get to see this guy all the time, man, seeing what Mason comes up with, man. How's that experience been for you and the fans up there in Detroit?
Oh, Mason's loved in Detroit. I actually did a Q&A with him a few weeks ago to kind of learn more about how he comes up with the stuff he comes up with. And it's pretty interesting if you get a chance to check it out on The Athletic. But, yeah, I mean, he's just a creative guy. A lot of the stuff he comes up with, he told me, was like he used to be a comic book fan, so he tries to treat the players like comic book heroes. And that's why you hear those little blurbs like whatever he says with Blake Griffin, muscles ripping Blake Griffin and stuff like that. He tries to make these guys feel like superheroes. And he's loved in Detroit. He's loved around the NBA. He's well known. He told me that guys like Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and Steph Curry says he's the best at his job, and he's a nice guy. I don't know if people know this, but the TV show Martin was actually based on Mason.
Oh wow! I did not know that.
Yeah, so he started as a radio disc jockey, and if you watch episode 1 of Martin, if I'm not mistaken, Martin gets a call from a caller, and they're yelling, "Mason, Mason." He's like, "No, Mason's gone. This is Martin." But it was if you read the Q&A, he tells me the whole story of how the Martin, the company, I think at the time it was Martin aired on Fox or UPN when it first came out, and how they approached him about doing the show about him, loosely based on him.
Wow, you know what? It's funny because I can quote John Mason calls, man. Especially when his jersey reads, "Oh, she." Mr. Rushy. I want a Piston fan, but he got me hyped to watch the game with the Pistons on League Pass. So that's my guy, man. I like this dude, man. So let me ask you, that's what I got for you, James. Bro,
I think he's one of the first. He's either the first or the only PA announcer from another. Like during the All-Star game, he was the first or the only, if not both, PA announcer to be like transported to do the All-Star game. Usually they have the announcer from wherever the city is, but I forgot what year it was, but the NBA wanted him to do it. I think it was the year that the Pistons had I can't remember if they had 4 or 5 of the starters in the game, but it was that year, and Mason was the PA announcer.
I remember he did it in Vegas, too, that year.
Yeah, yep.
I remember that, too. Yeah, Mason's a classic dude, man. Last one I got for you, James, is this. The arena. How is Little Caesars Arena different from the Palace of Auburn Hills? And I've been to the Palace a few times, but how is it different? Little Caesars, I've been downtown at the new arena yet. So what's the difference for the fans being the Pistons actually being downtown, not up there in Oakland County and in Auburn Hills?
I mean, I like Little Caesars more than the Palace, to be honest. The Palace is massive. It's a little more open. LCA is a little more. It reminds me kind of a college arena. When you're on the floor, everything's kind of on top of you. The seats go up and not as far out. It's dark. It's condensed. I like that for a basketball game. It gets very loud when the games are packed. The playoff game, Game 3, was as loud as I've heard in an arena all season. So when if the Pistons get good, that place is going to be very, very loud. But then again, I mean, I'm also a guy that's all for the city, and it's the arena's in the city. It's downtown. It's in Midtown. It's not in Auburn Hills, which is in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, indeed.
LCA is in the heart of Detroit. People can walk from the game, go downtown and get drinks, get food. They can walk from the bars to the game. It's more Detroit, and I think that's what they want to go for. They were tired of being so far away from the community, and now they're obviously attracting a much different fan base and consumer than they were in Auburn Hills. But it's a lot more Detroit.
Yes, indeed, with James. It's been fun, brother. We'll do this again real soon, man. I enjoy talking about the Pistons. I like the same you got going on. I like Michigan, man. So we'll do this again real soon, brother.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
No problem, folks. James Edwards here on the Bossman Show.
My heart skips skipping the beat. You're not close enough, so that space between you and me, let's lose it. The way you're dancing, swaying to the music, girl, that body and how you move it. Every time you cross my mind, girl, I lose it.
Alexa, play the Country Heat playlist. Okay.
I don't think you know what you're doing to me. You got
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
It's maybe the night that my dreams might let me know. All the stars are closer. All the stars are closer.
Tell me what you gonna do to me. Confrontation ain't nothing new to me. You could bring a bullet, bring a sword, bring a morgue, but you can't bring the truth to me.
Alexa, play Kendrick Lamar and SZA.
Okay.
Maybe the night that my dreams might let me know. All the stars are closer.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Till the tears run down from my eyes, Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me? Somebody to love.
Alexa, play hits from Queen.
Okay.
Somebody to love.
With Amazon Music, a voice is all you need. Get tens of millions of songs. Download the Amazon Music app today.